It is Thursday. It is a great Thursday, and I'll tell you why. Because the Golden State Warriors, they covered the 2.5. Barely. Should have taken the over. That was an easier bet. And that was the best punch I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers have. I don't know if the Cavs got a better shot than that, to be honest. And the difference maker in its entirety, aside from obviously the magnificent job that a Steph Curry does and Thompson, Draymond Green, Iguodala, Kevin Durant is going to win them all. I'm not saying single-handedly, Dave, but what was the difference between this year and last year? It's like a scientific experiment. And remember, my science was not that strong. I was not that strong a scientist. I mean, we're talking about, 14% in biology in high school. Not good.
That high, eh?
Yeah, well, I had diagrams, and I tried my best. Later on this morning, some huge things, too. We've got an amazing presentation for the lovely Jess, who helps us each and every morning here at Pacific Junction. The birthday for her the other day was Monday.
Sunday, actually.
It was Sunday.
Yeah, it was Sunday.
So the presentation will be very magical, and I understand that Russell's done something very special for her. So
that's nice of him.
You don't want to miss that. Barry Davis, formerly of Sportsnet. You know him, you love him, and God, I've known him forever. I've probably known him since about 1994, perhaps, when I started the Fan, myself and Bob McCallum.
Wow, I was going to say, that was Blue Jay World Series wins back then.
That was back when Strombo had way longer hair than this. We don't need you yet. Strombo did the all-night show. I think it was the Gen X show or whatever they called that. Jeff Merrick apparently was on it, but I don't remember. Myself and John Derringer were doing mornings at the time.
Yep.
That was 1996. So we'll find out what's going on in his world since he's not been doing it, why he's not. I don't got a fucking clue. I have no idea why Barry Davis still isn't doing it. Does he care? Well, everyone cares. I think that he's probably having more fun with his band We Ain't Petty right now. We've got some clips of that too, and he's bringing his guitar in studio. So if you have some questions for Barry today, if you're watching live right now on the dedicated YouTube channel or via rawmike.richards.com, you got a question for Barry, send it to me. You can do that at Raw Mike Richards or at David Bastel. Go ahead.
And also on the live chat.
And on the live chat that Dave is... You're getting good at that. You see people from all around the world.
Well, they're already making fun of the Jets. There's a little bit of a campaign saying that it's a suck for Sam, as far as Sam Darnold for USC, who's right now the rated number 1 quarterback of the 3 quarterbacks. So
I'm telling you,
he's part of the suck for Sam.
Just be careful when you tank for a quarterback, my friends. It might seem easy, but that's a lot of losing.
Well, it's going to be a tough year.
For one kid. And look,
I already know that.
Are they tanking? Well, by the boatloads of players that are, guys just...
By the cut of 15 veterans, I would say yes, they are in competition with the Browns and the 49ers.
So, looking at last night, and as I said, I was hoping and praying that they would win by 3. I'm glad I didn't see because I couldn't stay for the fourth quarter, and I thought, I don't know if I'm getting this one.
No.
But when you look at what Kevin Durant has meant to that team, and people criticized him when he went there, and I never really quite understood it. Maybe it was just those that didn't want to see utter domination by an already really excellent Golden State team, and it's like, what a cheap way. Who cares? If you're Kevin Durant and his family, they're like, you know what? If I go there, it might make it too easy. No, make it easy. I'm going to win a championship. Why do people not feel good? Because I can't see Golden State in any way, shape, or form. I can't see a Cavalier reverse sweep. I'm seeing sweep. I don't think they let up at all.
100%.
But why are people not happy for Kevin Durant? I mean, they're happy for a lot of players that make those kinds of moves late in their career. I'm taking a look at, why am I drawing a blank on the longtime Boston Bruin? Ray Bourque. Ray Bourque makes that switch, and it doesn't matter what event comes after Colorado wins the Stanley Cup. I think even Jeff Gordon won a race, and he goes, hey, this one goes out to Ray Bourque. I'm like, what? Like,
Did he
it's-
really say that?
Oh yeah, one of the
I
everyone
don't remember
did.
that.
The Pope was going.
Well, thank God, Ray Borky.
Wait, the Pope sounded Slovenian there.
He's my favorite. I'm related to Kopitar. Yeah.
But it seemed like everyone's happy for those. What is Kevin Durant like? What is it because of the media relationship he had? Like, do you really care what the media felt about him in Oklahoma City? Have you been to Oklahoma City?
You know what it probably was? That it was that for that year where he consistently wore that kid's backpack. Remember the backpack era?
Is it like?
Did it make sense?
Well,
I don't know if it was a Hello Kitty backpack, but it was something like that.
I just think the guy's unbelievable, and the fact that he is the standout right now. Like, if I'm looking at MVP,
Kevin Durant.
how can it not be?
100%.
He is the reason. So, with about 3 minutes and 8 seconds, if you had the -2.5, you were sweating this one out. And this is the best shot I think that Cleveland was going to have. And Dave, you called it. You said if they're going to win, it's going to be Game 3. And they gave Golden State all they could handle. But here's the thing: at that point, the last 3 minutes of defense for the Cavs. This is what we're talking about. Now, Charles Barkley, made a comment. He said, "I think they ran out of gas. I think they just ran out of gas. Their best players were on the floor a lot." And when you start taking a look at how they got this done, including the first part of this highlight that I'm going to show courtesy of the NBA and TNT, Curry takes a long, he takes the ball from baseline to baseline for a lay-in. Like, just goes in for a lay-in.
Yeah.
When I see that, like, the alarm bells are going off because that means your legs are starting to look. If you've ever had to do the power, play on the power kill, you know what happens to those thighs after a while. The burn is unbelievable, and you got to think in this moment for them to stay in the series, you're playing literally. You're playing the best team in the league. You're winning
By far.
You're up by 6, but as you'll see in the last 3 minutes and 8 seconds, not for long.
Lost the handle, picked up by Green.
This is where you have to convert.
Watch,
Curry down the lane and finishes.
easy peasy.
James guarding Durant, Thompson on the switch. Durant drives, gets a great look and finishes.
Now it's a 2-point game.
Incredible opportunity.
Durant for 3. It's good.
Boom
Kevin
goes the
Durant
dynamite.
from
I'm telling you.
downtown, and Golden State takes the lead. Irving guarded by Klay Thompson.
Miss. I need 3.
One-on-one.
Miss.
Irving
Miss.
pulls back.
Miss.
Steps back. Three-pointer. Off the rim.
Yeah!
Oh, rebound.
Yeah!
Get rid of the basketball and then foul.
They got to foul Green.
Yeah, foul someone good though.
Durant has it.
Yeah, foul him.
Roll over him, and there's the foul.
Yeah.
Durant 88% from the line in the playoffs.
1 point lead.
The first one rattled.
Yeah, I mean,
Durant, 13
Dave,
points in the quarter.
This is tight. Get it.
Now 31 for the game.
But watch this. Way too much time left.
Finds James. James blocked by Iguodala. Ball loose.
Wow.
Touched out of bounds
Wow.
by James. And Curry is fouled.
And they would have been better off if that foul had been called on James.
Yeah. And it's still 9.6 seconds left.
Curry.
So that's a 5-point lead.
Cleveland had a 7-point lead here in the fourth.
A 3 would have killed me.
Golden State
Oh, yeah.
stays perfect. A crushing loss for the Cavs.
Sure was.
As the Warriors take a 3-0
bad assholes.
lead in these finals.
Woo! There we go. There we go. Not easy money, so I will show you for those, again, watching on the dedicated YouTube channel. If you're watching it later, if you want to put up my little magical parlay, which still has survived, Dave. The 9-game
Staying alive.
parlay of gold, as you can see.
Love it.
After winning the, what was that? I actually took the A's money line, Houston Astros. I took the Preds at a 1.7, and last night the -2.5, which I barely got, was a 1.83. So what remains? Well, Dave, Hungary on the road. On the road. I don't think they say that. Andorra, wherever that is. Come on, Hungary. You need to win by 3. Slovenia. Their home pitch, Dave, against Malta.
Yep.
Boo.
Yeah, I hate Malta.
Maltese. Candy's not that good either. Overrated. Nope. Then you've got a couple Central American World Cup qualifiers. USA at home to Trinidad and Tobago.
Ooh, it's a handicap match, 2-on-1.
I wonder which one's place is weaker. Mexico, -1.5. So that's the Asian handicap to Honduras. I just like Mexico.
That
because,
should be a laugher, actually.
And then the Republic of Ireland on the Sunday against those bastards from Austria. On $3, it pays $1,000. It pays
It's a pretty good bet. Man.
$1,000.
Crossing our fingers here for a big party on Monday.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, that could be a good one.
You know what? Going back to the Cleveland Golden State series, my couple things that kind of irk me about this now. So we always talk about a 2-tier or a 3-tier NBA league. I'd almost go as far as saying this is a 4-tier because you have Golden State, you have Cleveland, you have teams like Toronto, Philly, Boston, Washington. I throw into that mix, and then and you kind of have the rest. And I'm not talking about the Western Conference because you'd throw in the San Antonios in that second or third, right? But you have Golden State up top. Now, the NBA draft happens in 2 weeks from tonight. In between that time, considering the window of opportunity on LeBron James is probably 2 to 3 years. What makes you say the Cavaliers won't do the same thing Golden State did by bringing in somebody high power like Kevin Durant?
Dave, I think, and that's an excellent point, I think that they have to. I think that they have to
because we're gonna be seeing the NBA the way it is this year for the next 3 years if the Cleveland Cavaliers do this, which they will do this.
I think the question is what is the equivalent? What is the equivalent of a Kevin Durant that would go to a Cleveland and make this series possibly not a sweep? Like, who is out there that – because I don't think – I would say that there is a Kevin Durant out there, but you don't necessarily – it's all about the fit on the team. It's all about what it does to the chemistry of that team. Because if you don't, Dave, and what you said is, so you have one elite team.
Yeah.
I'm going to say elite is standalone. In this exercise, it's standalone.
Because I got two names for you.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've got Golden State, elite. You've got Cleveland, a great team. Then you've got a substantial middle ground of teams that some, at times, can be pretty good. That's the way I'd put it. Then it starts to, because this is how the NBA is, once you get to the bottom of when we start talking about 7s and 8 seeds, then there's a pile of shit. Sorry, but there's teams out there that you're just not engaged. You're not going to watch it. And when those two teams play on a Tuesday night in New Orleans,
bingo.
Good luck with that, Dave. I'm not even interested, and that's where the NBA, I think, has some real issues. Now, maybe they don't feel they do. They're certainly not going to be honest enough to say that. I mean, when and that Adam Silver, for what it's worth, I mean, I do like the way he answers a lot of those questions. However, when you start talking about the competitive nature of the NBA, once you get by elite, great, a whole bunch of pretty good, but then there's also a whole bunch of garbage. So how does that impact the league? Because I got to tell you, on any given night, I can go and watch a Golden State, but they're just going to fill in a team from
completely.
You name it. I mean, even a team like Charlotte, which again, wherever you want to weigh how they're going to be, you think that's a game that's going to be close by the fourth quarter, unless everybody gets rested. And that's another thing the NBA is really guilty of, taking star players. And San Antonio might have been the kings of this, and just not playing their guys.
Yeah. So the two names I have, and we're also kind of talking about it online right here before we get to it, is Paul George. Paul George makes a lot of sense on a 1-year deal, and then he heads to Los Angeles for the Glory contract, which I'm anticipating that eventually happening. Jimmy Butler is another big name that I'm anticipating. Maybe Cleveland starts banging on the door, but it all depends on whether or not Dan Gilbert wants to spend the money. But you have to remember, if you're Dan Gilbert, the LeBron window is only so big. It's only so big, and if he's in 32, 33 years old, I'm counting a 3-year gap. And then Cleveland goes back to what the Cavaliers used to be back in the day with the Rain Man and guys like that, where they were a little bit over a 500 team and so forth.
Yeah,
but
heard of the lake show? That was the no-show.
Yeah, that was a big-time no-show.
By a lake that was so gross, you could set it on fire. That was Cleveland.
So I mean, pay the luxury tax, pay what you have to, win at least 1 or 2 more championships with LeBron. And of course, there's always the rumor that maybe LeBron's going to leave Cleveland again.
Well, now that this has happened, it's all of a sudden it's like, when does he get to Los Angeles? That's kind of what I mean. Does he go to the Lakers? I mean, they're almost, that is the pundits thinking that he's not going to finish his career in Cleveland. I mean, I don't think he could do more for that city. I think there's no human being almost that's done for Cleveland what this guy's done. I don't think he owes them anything. So again, does he go somewhere to win a championship? Does he go to try to recreate the Lake Show? I don't know. But right now, all I can say is that Kevin Durant has been just a catalyst that has made literally this series almost unwatchable. That game last night, obviously a crazy ending, but I don't see in Game 4 that Cleveland even pushing them. I think this is it. I think it is a sweep.
Vegas has the numbers out right now. You're getting 6s and 6.5s on the board now, so it's almost doubled what Game 3 was in favor of the Warriors. The number for totals has gone up a little bit too. You're sitting at about a 228, 229, somewhere in that range. So anticipation is a sweep. And I just don't know if the Cavaliers have any pushback.
I don't think they do.
It'd be crazy, though. The Warriors, if they do win on Friday, they will complete the NBA playoffs perfect 16-0.
Yeah, they're whatever example or parallel, it's kind of hard to, but I think a lot of people would bring up the domination of the New England Patriots when they start to roll like that. That's really what you're seeing. By the way, I thought it was really interesting. During the post-game press conference, Kevin Durant is asked at the podium about the big shot that he hits that really is the dagger in the game. And he kind of throws it off a little bit. Kind of says, well, I saw that they were back on their heels. They're going away, so it's a shot I knew I could make. But I think this is just on the sidelines. Is it Dottie Pepper? I think who asked it. Is it not Dottie Pepper?
Doris Burke.
Doris Burke.
Yeah.
And she says, what do you make of that shot? Listen to the answer that Kevin Durant gives, which is a way more honest answer. It's a very emotional answer because the game just finished. Quite different than I knew I could make the shot, so I just took it.
All I was looking at was the bottom of the net, and I seen he was playing his heels was behind the three-point line, and I've been working on that shot my whole life, and for that one to go in, that was liberating right there, man. So we got one more win, we got to keep going.
Well, how about that difference in answer? That's a shot that I've been practicing my whole life. Slight difference than, I saw I could make the shot, so I went out and I made it. There's a little bit, probably a little bit of difference in that one. You're watching rawmickrichards.com. You're also hopefully downloading on iTunes or where you listen to your podcast. We certainly appreciate that here this morning. We're going to have our very good friend Barry Davis who's going to join us. We'll talk a little Major League Baseball. Obviously, Blue Jays in his time with covering the Blue Jays. They win
in Oakland in 10.
And not exactly probably the performance they wanted in Oakland, but that's what they got. So right now, something very special, and I know Russell certainly is looking forward to this. She seems to be taking her time. What is this, the Oscars? Is she coming in? The lovely Jess, who has helped us since day one, working here for the company, and you got to come in here now. That's what we need. And so it was her birthday. I believe it was either last Sunday or Monday, her birthday. And
birthday
here
was Sunday.
Here
yes.
comes the lovely
All
Jess,
right.
ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome.
Let me figure out some sort of music. I won't
Actually, probably over here, Rusty?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Which one does she got to go to? Let's go on. It's got to be on Dave's
you
side.
want to go on my
We
side?
got to go on Dave's side.
Okay,
That's how it works here. And
you
I won't play the shit music. That's not very nice at all.
No, that's not nice at all.
So let's figure out. No, that's the shit music. Let's try something like this, even though this is way too dramatic. You went to Neil Diamond last night too, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
How good was Neil? I should be playing Neil Diamond.
He was good.
He was very good.
Great. He still got it.
Well, if you think that's great, here comes the music, right? Okay, way too dramatic. But Dave, if you want to reach down, the birthday fairy has been here. Once again, I use that in a magical sense, and don't be sending in nasty emails. And now let's take a look, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful flowers. An array of beautiful flowers, and just so you know,
So first off,
Yeah.
is this one's from
from you and I,
from
of course, yes.
Mike and I?
Yeah,
so
here's
why
a
don't you- why
lovely
don't you- Why don't
card.
you open that up right? Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
so you have to
Here, I can
just
hold that.
grab the flowers from her.
Yeah.
Yes,
Perfect,
and,
perfect.
and hold the microphone so we can grab the excitement. As
Okay. You're gonna have to read that out to us too.
yeah, that
Great.
there we go. This once again from Dave and myself, a card
Yep.
that What's it say?
Is it hot in here?
And
Yeah.
Oh,
that's sweet.
hear the little
I
whistling.
like that. I like
that's
that.
It's a
Mike and Dave.
Mike and Dave.
Mike and I were talking
love
about that, and we said, you know what, get her something sweet, something
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now
Okay,
Russell,
that's what
he said he wanted to pick
Sorry.
pick the card himself. So this card we don't know. It's from Russell. What does it say? What does the card say?
Writing looks awfully familiar.
No, it doesn't.
No, what's the card say?
To my Jessica.
Oh, that's a little surprising.
Open
yeah,
it up,
yeah.
Okay.
That's a
What do we
little
got here?
surprising.
Oh, boy, jeez.
To my Jessica, it's a little
Oh,
forward.
my.
Why don't you read what
Okay.
the card says?
Those are evil. For the love of my life,
Oh.
only you could make me laugh so hard and
sweet.
laugh so completely. Only you could understand my deepest feelings and appreciate my little quirks.
Uh-oh. It's a little over the top.
Only you could be so funny,
Just a
smart,
bit.
down to earth, and sexy all
Oh.
at the same time.
Wow.
Only you could be my partner and my friend.
Oh,
the
do you know,
one who
are you
inspires
familiar with any that this was going on?
and the
No?
love of my life.
Oh.
Aw, so many X's and O's.
Oh, so many.
Love roast beef.
That is,
Roast beef. Here we go.
that is the
That's so.
the love of my life was a little bit of a
Holy
surprise. That was a little
Aw, thank you.
Hashtag sleepover this
yeah,
weekend.
wow,
Hey, is that what
yeah.
we're saying?
Boy,
I hope
he's,
Rita's not watching wrestle. I mean,
yeah, that's boy.
oh,
That,
thank you guys.
that got a little
So kind.
got a little weird too, but it usually does on the show. Just thanks so much for everything that you do.
No problem.
We appreciate that.
This is so nice.
Look at
of
the
you
flowers.
guys. They're
Look, they match
beautiful.
the skin tone and the hair
I'm
and.
flushed now.
It's
You know?
perfect.
There
It's
we
not
go.
hard to make me blush.
Well
Thank you.
done.
Okay. Yes. Now
Thanks, Jess.
Now go back to the insensitive part of the show. Wow, the love of my life. Did you? Yeah, because he was showing me some of the pictures he has of you, like when you're shopping at Sobeys and when you're in your garden with your back to it. That's yeah, they're interesting photos.
We're getting a couple messages. Are they dating?
Yeah, I think that just happened live on the show. Yeah. Do the night. There's Brian Sullivan. So Dunk the Runk says, do the fight night thing for Canelo and GGG, not that train wreck Mayweather fight. Well,
Yeah.
except Conor McGregor. It's
Yeah,
beautiful barrels. Look, if we're gonna have a big night, it's gonna be a circus, and so I would think, this is gonna be. Is this gonna be historically the most money that's been coughed up for a fight like ever?
Well, just because we're also living in 2017 as well, and there seems to be an itching of the two sport athletes meeting in one sport. I don't know much about how much of a
draw.
quality fight it's
Yeah,
going to be.
we don't care. It's more
but
of
you're curious. You're curious as hell to see this.
Okay.
thing.
Do you remember the Michael Johnson?
Yeah,
Donovan Bailey,
Yes, correct.
where it was the weird,
the exhibition.
yeah, but it was like wasn't it 200 and some odd? Like it wasn't 100, wasn't the 400. It was kind of in the middle.
And Johnson does the old hamstring.
Yeah, well, and then Donovan Bailey just like carves him immediately.
Yeah.
He called him a big chicken. He a big chicken. That's what I remember. I was like, wow, it's like. But what I thought was interesting is that you're looking at it. It's not a proper track distance for anybody. It's kind of an odd and a weird shaped track in a huge venue that no one's really used to seeing track and field of any kind in that building, certainly at that time. So why would you watch it if it's only going to be a matter of seconds? It's
True.
the same reason.
Yep.
It's a freak show. I got to see this. And for Canadians, Canada is not known for calling it shot, pointing your finger, putting it at someone's chest, and then following through. In the same way that, I think the Eugenie Bouchard, about 2.5 weeks ago, when she calls out Maria Sharapova, says she's a cheat, and then she goes out and she hammers Sharapova. She goes out, she actually wins.
I didn't think that was going to happen
no,
at all.
No, I can tell you the odds makers didn't.
Nope.
So it actually was another moment of Canadian, sort of change in attitude. And I take a look at this fight coming up, and regardless of the strangeness of someone who makes their living only punching against a guy that it's part of what he does, but now you're going to take a lot of those tools away from Conor McGregor because now it's only striking. You're going up against a guy who might go down in the history and the annals of boxing as one of the greatest boxers of all time. And mostly because you can't hit him.
Nope.
You can't get him.
Defense.
Right.
Kind of boring fight-wise, but the guy's perfect. The guy has not lost a boxing match, which is truly remarkable. And chances are this will also be his last ever fight. So, you know what? He's there to max out, and I think people are there for the curiosity standpoint of it.
Tonight, you've got a really interesting scenario. You've got a team that got out to a 2-0 lead, and I think when you talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins and you talk about those kinds of numbers historically in the NHL, certainly in the Stanley Cup Finals, isn't it like 90% that those teams end up winning the Stanley Cup?
Something close to it, yeah.
It's huge. It's a huge number. But anyone who watched those games knows that maybe 5 out of the 6 periods might have been won by the Nashville Predators. It's just that Pekka Rinne wasn't really giving them the kind of goaltending that you're used to seeing from him. Well, boy, did that change in a hurry. And now you look at those 2 games that were mammoth for the Nashville Predators. Therefore, I'm taking a look at this Game 5. Now, I'm not sure what the numbers are right now, but I'm saying right now, to me, it should be a 50-50 proposition. So if it's a 1-8-6 or something for the Penguins and a 1-9-5 or something, like, it's got to be close.
I'll dial those up for you right now, Mike.
Yeah, because I think this thing's got to be close.
So right now, Penguins are paying a 160. The Nashville Predators are paying a 235.
Well, you got it. Then I'm taking the Preds.
Yeah, I'm taking the Preds big time. Let's see. Of course, the totals are still at 5.5 goals, which is probably pretty common. Regulation. It's interesting if this goes to a draw. As far as if you're betting overtime, you get a 3.95. Does this go to overtime?
Well, that's a big number too.
It's a big.
That's a good number.
You're sitting
it's
there
a great number
with just under a 4, with 2 teams that are fairly matched up. It's a 2-2 series draw. I know the last couple of games Nashville's won by 3-4 goals. That's fine, but it's back in Pittsburgh. So what happens?
Yeah. So you think does Pekka Rinne go back to his form in the first 2 games? Or does he continue on with his play that we've seen so far? I think it's a continuation. I don't think he goes back to the point where he doesn't help his team tonight. I would be stunned if that was the result.
So would I. And if the Nashville Predators win tonight, this series is going to be wrapped up in 6 games.
I think for Penguin fans, they're kind of hoping they hear a lot of Mike Lang saying, "Hey, shoots and scores! Oh, Sidney Crosby, scratch my back with a hacksaw. It's 1-0 Pittsburgh." Yeah. Call Arnold Crick from Turtle Creek. Elvis has left the building. That's what they want to hear tonight from Mike Lang.
They're hoping they hear that at least 4 or 5 times, but man, it's turned into
Calgary shoots and scores.
I already have a 2-0 lead. Man, that's fast.
Oh yeah.
Pittsburgh really needs this game. Like if Pittsburgh wins this game, I see Nashville tying it up and then going to 7. If Nashville wins this game, they will wrap it up on home ice in Game 6.
Okay, so Barry Davis, I see, is now. I think he
owns the place now.
He's hitting on Jess, which is there's a lot of that going around today.
Roast beef is going to be disappointed.
I thought roast beef's first of all, his birthday card that says the love of his life was kind of weird. So look, as Barry comes into the studio, we're going to go to his band. We Ain't Petty. Yeah, a petty tribute band. That's just part of the stuff he's doing for fun right now. So I believe he also has his guitar. So just a few seconds, we're going to watch We Ain't Petty, and then in studio, our good friend Barry Davis.
Well, she was an American girl, raised on promises. She couldn't help thinking that there was a little more life somewhere else. After all, it was a great big world with lots of places to run to. Yeah, now she ever died.
There it is. We Ain't Petty. And All-American Girl. That was, basically, that was from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, wasn't it? Oh, I remember that. I remember
Good movie.
the diving board scene.
Couple scenes.
The
in there,
diving board
Mikey?
scene, absolutely. And Barry Davis, who, of course, is so far above that kind of talk. But he is joining us in studio now on rawmikeRichards.com. Barry, thanks so much for coming in,
Good to
buddy.
see you,
Hey,
Barry.
Rat, I've got 2 tickets for the next We Ain't Petty show. So close to the stage, you'll scare the band. $25.
Oh, my God. That was
Sorry, I had to get a
scene.
little Fast Times dialogue in there.
Well, look, now people are probably going, what the fuck was that? What did we just see? Barry Davis is like in a band? Now, here's what I didn't know, because we go back to The Fan. Now, when did you start at The Fan?
92.
92. So
I just cut my hair.
You see, I didn't know you had the musical background. either.
Yeah, I started playing in a band when I was probably 16, 17. And back then it was mid 80s. So I had the long hair, the spandex, the
Well, I'm
bandanas.
a hair band guy, so
That was totally the thing. If you look on my social media pages, I'm sure you can see some of those.
I gotta see
pictures
some.
from the past. I had a perm.
Okay, that I didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of things I wanted to know. That wasn't one of them. In the movie Rockstar, one of my favorite lines is, so, of course, when you're in a band, you still got to do some, other shit to pay the bills. And I guess he works for a photocopier company or something, and he's sitting there, and it's Mark Wahlberg, and the guy's, like, looking at him a little strange. He's like, excuse me, are you wearing makeup? Wahlberg goes, it's okay. I'm in a band. And I know I have said that line before. Whatever it is, it's okay. I'm in a band. It's one of the lines you had. Now, so you come in at 92, so I don't show up till 94, and I join McCowan, actually, on
I
the
remember
show.
getting your phone calls where you would just call in and do little bits, and then once a week we'd receive a tape, and it had
That's
whole
right.
bunch of a week's worth of
Comedy.
Mike's comedy
Yeah,
bits.
Yeah, it was Headline Comedy. It was a syndicated
that's right,
comedy
that's
service.
Exactly, yeah.
And then Bob goes, I don't want the thing on the phone. I want this guy in here. And that's kind of how it starts. That's all this stuff starts. People say, well, McCown, what's the relationship? It was always, for me, it was always great. I don't buy the curmudgeon thing. He's always been great to
Oh
me.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, he's been
I learned
awesome.
so much from him.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah.
first things I learned from Bob McCown was when you're doing a radio show, if you don't know the answer to a question, make it up and sound so convincing that no one will ever question you.
He's a genius at it.
It's absolutely. When I first started at the Fan, '92, I was screening the calls for Jay's Talk, and there would be nights where he would come in 5 minutes before the show, plunk himself down in the chair. Yo, that's what he'd call me. Yo, did the Jays win? Be like, yes, Bob. 5-2. They won 5-2. Did anybody hit a home run? Yes, Bob. Joe Carter hit his 15th. Got it. First call. Bob in Scarborough, you're on.
Yeah.
Bob, what was Cito thinking in the 4th inning? Can you just explain that decision for me? And without having any knowledge of the situation, Bob would give the most eloquent answer.
It would go for 20 minutes, too. This wasn't a 3 minute.
And the caller would go, Bob,
Yeah,
thanks so
yeah.
much. I really appreciate it. And I'd be sitting there going, how the F did he know?
Yeah, that's what he does. It's just what he does.
Didn't know if swearing was allowed
No,
on the
you
show.
Oh,
can
swearing
do
is
what you
allowed.
want, yeah.
Okay, it is raw.
It is raw. It
is
is
raw,
raw.
exactly, yeah.
And most of the other shows were raw, too. I'm just being honest about this one.
It's funny. I
Yeah,
always
yeah.
get asked by people, I'm sure you probably have too, is all the years you were in broadcasting, how did you never swear on the air?
Well,
And-
but you're not a filthy person. Where I'm
No,
on the other side of the fence
I mean,
a little bit.
I can lay a few things out there, but I think that there's just this mental switch, right? That goes
just
off
goes on,
as soon
yeah.
as that red light goes on. And now in the world of podcasts, where you don't have to worry about that. It's almost weird at first, isn't it?
Well, I think, but see, it's as anyone who's watched the show, it's not profanity laced.
No.
I didn't go to all this trouble to set this up just so I could say the F word. I mean, it really, it's
So you couldn't
it's
say
not.
it there.
But see, this is the classy part of me, Barry. It's
Yeah,
the class. You don't. This is the part of me you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That Mike. I've changed my mind on him.
Yeah.
He's really fucking classy.
I always thought chicks I dig or chicks I like was very
Bob
classy.
Cole.
Oh, that was
Bob
total
Cole.
class.
Just reeks of class. He hates it. His daughter likes it. Go figure.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Did you ever hear back from Cito on your Cito?
No, never. No. Most of them don't. The only one who really got aggressive about it was Robin Leach. And he actually came
That's
in
right, I
with
remember
his
that.
lawyers, right into the Fan.
Yeah.
Right when Bob Makowitz, the senior.
Yeah, I remember old Mac.
So Mac came in. He said, these guys came in from Los Angeles. They had sabers on their business cards and all this garbage. And our lawyers said at Telemedia at the time said, you just have to prove that it obviously wasn't Robin Leach.
Right.
I said, what do you mean? And so Matt goes, well, the more crazy, the more insane the premise. I go, insane premise. Yeah. I live in the insane premise. So I had all these ridiculous bits, and we played it like, what if Robin Leach were attacked by Indians? This was one of the bits they played.
See, again, these are things that were okay back then. Can you imagine if you did your Dominic Hasek these days?
And almost.
I love your Dominic Hasek.
Yeah, people are like, okay, let's get to something that is current when it comes to, because we are very quick these days to be very aggressive when something is going to be called racist.
I have a 17-year-old son, and everything offends him.
Everything. Yeah. Well, so where you're 17 already? Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm
okay.
oldish.
Hold on one second. Let's just go to Jerry here, the Jerry clip. So Jerry Remy from the Boston Red Sox. So this is what he had to say, and I know just the premise if you haven't seen it. Tanaka's on the mound. They call time, and an interpreter goes to the mound, and here's what he had to say during the Bo Sox-Yankees game.
That was a relatively quick conversation. Larry Rothschild along with the translator.
Oh, that's what it was. I had that wrong. I thought it was the trainer going out there, but I forgot with Tanaka they take out a translator. I don't think that should be legal.
Seriously?
I really don't.
Jackie Bradley 0 for 1. What is it you don't like about that?
Learn baseball language. Learn. It's pretty simple. I mean, you break it down pretty easy between pitching coach and pitcher after a long period of time.
Okay, so basically what happens there is he says he has to learn the language of baseball. So immediately that's interpreted as, hey, buddy, you got to speak English. My take on it, the first time I heard it was, and now whether you agree with him on his point that, it's about the pace of play. And then how baseball's always had an issue on how long this thing can drag out. Mm-hmm. And so, if you think that's a valid argument, that's a baseball conversation. And what he's saying, at least my take was, that, in order to play the game efficiently in a country where obviously English isn't his first language, but why wouldn't you be able to talk to your catcher when the catcher has some issues with what you're throwing or how you're throwing it or the slider or the cutter or whatever that issue happens to be? And he said, well, you got to learn the language of baseball. So I didn't take it as racist. I took it more as a conversation of, I think it was the other way around. And Mike Richards is over in Japan. I think depending on what the sport is, would I not, at least, I don't need to know the whole language, but if my profession is based on like 15 words, that I probably need to communicate to my guy a little bit. So I didn't take it as this, oh my God, he's a David Duke, he might as well be wearing a Klansman hood over his head. I just didn't take it that way. But in this world, as you said beforehand, anything that can be misconstrued as certainly a middle-aged white guy, boy, I'll tell you, you're one step away from seemingly that you want to lynch somebody. I didn't take it that way.
And that's the funny thing right now. I mean, you've got the obvious, like we all saw that woman go into the Chinese grocery store last week and start yelling at the person that you should go back to China type of thing. I mean, that's blatant, that's obvious, that's racism. Then there's so many things that are on the fence that, what is it? What was the intent? And just like with Kevin Pillar, what was the intent of what he said? But now we're living in a world where it doesn't matter what the intent of what we're saying is. If it offends somebody, it's offensive. I remember a couple years ago when I was on the Blue Jays broadcast, and one of the promotions I had to read was about Father's Day. So it was a thing where, there's a special if you bring your dad to the ball game, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the promo, I just innocently said, come on, sons, take your dads to the ball game. And I got ripped by some people saying that was sexist because why can't daughters take their fathers to the ball game?
I
didn't mean anything by it. I mean, when I was growing up, it was father-son picnics.
Yeah.
Right. But nowadays, I mean, you can't. Can a manager or an umpire look at an umpire and say, "What, are you blind?" Because you're going to offend the blind.
Right.
Falls on deaf ears. That's going to offend. Like,
so
everything you say. The only thing that is not offensive these days is the F word.
Right.
I would encourage my child to use the F word at any time.
Because no one's taken that away.
Because, no one's going to take that one.
Well, I think what you're saying is that everything is literal. So everything's literal. So therefore, like Dave and I, and that's what, because we tried to get a hold of you when the Kevin Pillar thing comes down.
Right.
And so everyone started saying, well, take the cape off Superman. The guy that seems to be the perfect guy isn't the perfect guy. Well, I got news for you. Nobody's perfect.
No.
Nobody's perfect. And in the heat of that moment, whatever word, quite frankly, that was used all the time, every time for guys like ourselves growing up in sport, and we really didn't put the, in context that we were being homophobic, that there was an anti-gay sentiment to it. I don't think anyone in there ever thought about those kinds of things. Now we do.
Yeah.
So it's an enormous, an offensive word to say, but to think that for 1 second that there are latent anti-homosexual feelings in Kevin Pillar is just, to me, way over the top. You know the guy. What was your thinking?
Yeah, I know that Kevin Pillar is not a homophobic guy. I've known him for a long time, and I know that's not who he is. Now, when he says that word's not even in my vocabulary, I can even believe that too. But the thing is, the word is in his subconscious, because if you've ever been, and both of you guys have been in dressing rooms and locker rooms, when you get 10, 15, 20 guys together and all that testosterone is there, the stuff that comes out of their mouths within that little group, I'm sure that the word that Kevin Pillar said wasn't the worst word that he hears in that
of course
clubhouse.
not. No.
And if that word is always being circulated by everyone around him, even if he doesn't use it, it's there. It's somewhere in your head. And, we've all been cut off on the highway. We've all been to the point where we're so pissed off that we just blurt something out. And unfortunately for Kevin, when he blurted that out, it was caught on camera, and then it was replayed.
Sure.
And then it was replayed again, and then replayed again. And it just kept going on. And then he has to, explain himself. And again, I guess we're just living in a world now where we have to just adjust and make sure that we have to be aware of everything that comes out of our mouths, not to mention everything we write, because when you put something on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, it's there. It's there. I've seen people dig out tweets of mine from 2-3 years ago because I haven't deleted it, and they'll retweet it. I'm like, where did you find that?
I know. The people have way too much time on their hands.
trolls.
And you were,
Trolls.
trolls. And you're searching for something to what? Embarrass somebody, make yourself look better. I mean, it's all the things that trolling does.
Yep.
But,
is.
sorry, Dave, go
No,
go
that's
ahead.
okay.
Yeah.
2017 Blue Jays. We're sitting here at am I having some problems?
Go ahead.
Good. We're sitting a couple games under 500. Surprised by this after 60-plus games? Not surprised by this, considering the level of what this team has progressed through the postseason the last couple?
I tell you what, I'm surprised that they've recovered as much as quickly as they have, because after that April, I mean, all we've heard about was no team has ever recovered.
Sure.
And my thinking all along was if they can get back to 500 by the All-Star break, if they can be within 5-6 games of a playoff spot 1st of September, I mean, we've seen enough baseball seasons over the years. I mean, you always see a team that just jumps out of the gate, and then another team that just completely tanks, and then by June, July, August, it kind of evens out. When I did my interview with Kevin Pillar last week, he compared their April to an NFL team being 0-1 because of the percentage of the season that they're in.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but it's the same thing all the time, right? The team gets off to a bad start. Everybody panics. They they jump on and off the bandwagon. There's that group that will stay with them all the way through, but it's totally the jump on and off, and it goes from season to season. It goes from game to game, inning to inning, and sometimes with a player, it's at bat by at bat. They jump on and off the guy.
Okay, so here's the question I have then. If that's the scenario and they get back to 500 and they're looking at a 5 or 6 games out of a wild card, when it comes to the trade deadline about the buying and the selling, I'm looking at what Boston is doing. I'm looking at what's coming down the highway for the New York Yankees in the next couple of years. And Dave and I talked about yesterday just sort of what they both have going for them, sort of chronologically on the upswing. So for the Blue Jays, it's not an upswing. It's got to be going the other way. And if it is, don't you think at some point, rather than clinging to the hope that you have a run, someone else fails, and you just get in, is this the time where you look at some valuable players that are going to get you a return, so then maybe in a couple of years you're back in the running again? Because if you let the airs go out of the tires completely, not only are your players not worth anything, you got to come from even further back. So would they buy or sell? Because I don't see the success in buying.
And that's the real major challenge for a GM, because you look and you say, okay, Jose Bautista went unsigned. and the Blue Jays ended up getting him because really no other team was willing to do it. And while he's starting to put his numbers up now, if you look at the cliff and you're going up on your career and coming down, well, he's starting now on the downside. Morales is probably on the downside. I would say Josh Donaldson's still climbing up a little bit, right? He's kind of almost at that peak there. But
what about a Russell Martin? Is that?
Russell Martin is over.
Downside,
yeah, I mean he's been around for a long time. But if come trade deadline they are within striking distance and they have an opportunity to make a run, then all of a sudden all that veteran type of players become an asset in the playoffs because they've been there, they've done that, they've been in the postseason. So do you look at an opportunity of advancing and getting to the World Series and say, well, what if we don't win? Maybe we should just cut our losses now and go for it. And then there's no guarantee that the guys that you get in return for these players are going to be superstars. And how many times have we seen, big players traded for prospects and those prospects end up to be nothing? So, and you also have to say, well, how much are we going to get for player A and player B? And then the Blue Jays have to look, again, I think that they started rebuilding their system when Shapiro came in. They started, trying to get back because what Alex Anthopoulos did a few years ago was wonderful that it got the Blue Jays to the postseason, but he traded so many of the prospects, and you have to think Alex knew that he was leaving, and he said,
Right.
Screw it, I'm going out with a bang, and I'll do the moves I have to make to get this team to where it is. And I don't want to have to make that decision. I think that, I think most Blue Jay fans, if they thought there was a chance they can make it to a postseason for a third year in a row by either adding or staying put, as opposed to ripping this team down, I think they would take the opportunity of going back.
When you talk about decisions being made and who makes this, who makes that, and what the Jays are going to do moving forward, Ross Atkins has the title of general manager. We know that. But clearly, he is not the guy that makes the decisions. Why? How can you explain to our audience how that Blue Jay front office actually works and what Mark Shapiro actually, his real title should be in this kind of situation?
I think if you look at the fact that Alex Anthopoulos left on his own accord as opposed to being fired, tells you a lot. Just in the fact that, Alex wanted that complete autonomy that he had with Paul Beeston. And not to say that, sorry, that was my phone going off. I should probably silence it when I'm doing the show.
No, it doesn't matter.
And again, it's not to say that, he wouldn't have any say under Mark Shapiro. And again, all I can comment on is from what we see from the outside. And it sure looks as though that Mark Shapiro is the one calling the shots and Ross Atkins is, doing what he says. But who knows what input Ross Atkins has. It's possible that they get together and talk. But at the end of the day, from what I believe, the final decision will come down to Ross Atkins to Shapiro.
Yes.
Whereas in the old regime, Paul Beeston would just trust Alex Anthopoulos. They would need approval from the Board of Governors and all that when it came to money. But when it came to actual player decisions, Alex pretty much would do what he needed to do to improve the team.
We're in conversation with Barry Davis here on rawmikeridge.com in studio. Thrilled to have him here today. The other thing, too, is because of the proximity that you were with the players and coaches, the organization for those years, I'm thinking that if I'm going fishing, then John Gibbons has got to be the best guy. He has to be the best guy.
Yeah. Fishing with a large case of beer and, a little transistor radio with some classic rock. I mean, the dude, if you could just play any Canadian 70s band. And, growing up, we knew that a lot of those bands like Rush and Triumph were so huge out in Texas. But until I actually spoke to Gibby about music, I didn't realize just how big they were. If you were a Canadian rock band in the 70s and you wanted to get any airplay or any you go to Texas.
Right.
Texas was just a breeding ground. They just love their Canadian classic rock. And Gibby's exactly one of those guys. I interviewed his daughter for last week's podcast, Out of the Park, by the way. Get the plug in.
Yeah, let's do that, yeah.
So she was saying that, cause she's a musician now, is in a country band. She said she'll come home during the off season and there would be Gibby just lounged out on the couch watching, a Stones concert on TV or Rush videos or something like that. So Gibby's exactly. I'm surprised. Do you do a Gibby?
Well, we all did a Gibby.
I think
at one
everybody
point,
does, yeah.
Just because there was times where I couldn't understand.
Talk about translators.
Well, the thing is, he go out there and he threw the ball. Sometimes he don't throw the ball. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. You know what I'm saying?
You're talking about translators. I think, Gibby he will even admit sometimes he needs a translator.
Well, I don't see. See, that's the whole thing too. Is when it got into discussions about being racist. Look, there are a lot of times, and I think it was years ago when I talked to Buck Martinez, and he was talking about playing winter ball in Venezuela.
Yeah,
and of course, the last name is Martinez. So, of course, they go up and going, pregunto al jugador de béisbol. And they go, oh, hey, man, I don't speak a word of what you're, whatever. What is that?
Yeah.
So it's there's a human side to a lot of this. You never had to go up and say, oye, chico, que tu pasa. You're not talking Spanish to the Spanish players. They're openly just talking to you.
Although, for years, I wanted to learn Spanish, but not tell the players.
Just so you know what they're saying about
right, just so I can kind of sit there and I don't know what you're saying, guys. Yeah. Oh, yes, I do. I know exactly what you're saying, guys.
Now, let me ask you this, because the people who are watching today and certainly will be listening later on iTunes, they must wonder, just like I do, you must miss that gig. You must miss that job, because there I am. Look, and I've known you a long time, and you always want your friends to do well. And so, as I said, you're screening calls, you're doing sort of behind the scenes at the Fan all those years, and then there's Barry Davis, and he's got the microphone. He's from every ballpark I've ever seen on television. He's interviewing the players, and I'm really happy for you, like very happy for you. And you look at a gig like that, and as much as I know, it's probably draining because of the travel, and and you have children, and you're married. But I'm looking at it and thinking it kind of is a dream gig. And when that came to an end abruptly and shockingly to a lot of us, I'm thinking, but boy, you got to miss that thing.
I do, and I think that the first couple of months, spring training, early part of the season, you're watching, going, "Oh man, yeah, I miss that." I mean, spring training is by far one of the best gigs you could ever have in sports media, right? It's wonderful. But you know what? Life moves on, and I think I'm in a really good place now. There are a lot of things that I'm doing now that I wouldn't have had an opportunity to do if I was still doing that. Being able to do gigs with my band, being able to do my podcast. I'm going out doing auditions and acting and doing those types of things. So I'm kind of in a place right now where...
What roles are you going for? Are they sneaky roles? Because I see you as a dirty, not trustworthy person.
Here's the first commercial I landed was actually... it was a Reese's peanut butter commercial, and you don't see me, but you hear me. In fact, if you're watching NHL games now, you probably can still see the commercial. And I'm doing like play-by-play of a hockey game. And in my mind, I kept thinking, don't try to be Bob Cole. Don't be Mike Richards being Bob Cole. Don't be Mike Richards doing Bob Cole. So that was the first one I did. And most recently, I auditioned for a scene of a brand new TV show. It's actually a CBS show that shoots here in Toronto that makes its debut in July. And I went and auditioned, and I got one scene in one episode, which I'm hoping somehow leads to more.
Right.
And I'm not allowed to give away any of the plot scenes or something like that. And I don't even know exactly where my scene will be. I can tell you it's in episode 7 of a new show called Salvation.
Oh, okay.
So somewhere in that episode, I'm going to be in there.
Are you stealing a purse? What are you doing in that?
Shh. I can't tell you.
Because I don't know. I see you as some guy's sidekick who
I'd love that.
Steals something.
You know what? I don't think growing up my dream was to be a radio or a TV sportscaster. It was to be a musician or an actor.
Where's home for you? Where'd you go to high school? Where's high school for you?
I lived in Etobicoke. I went to a high school called Vincent Massey, which no longer exists. And there's actually a lot of media people that went to that school. Steve Buffrey from the Toronto Sun, Rob Longley went there. So yeah, that was it was a lot of fun back, because we had the high school rivals, which there was always the big fights and stuff like that between the two schools, because we were in the blue collar area of Etobicoke, right. And there was another school called Silverthorne, which was in the more ritzy area. So there was always the big battle. So
probably Matthew Cause. Matthew Cause went to that school.
Yeah. I was actually born. Because both my parents were in show business. My dad was one of those total 50s lounge act guys, and he would sing, he would tell jokes, he would do impressions, he would do all that kind of stuff. And my mom was a dancer, not poles, right? Not that kind of dancer. Yeah. Although I'm sure he saw many of those in his lifetime.
Yeah, just because he's from Etobicoke doesn't mean his mom worked at the House of Lancaster or something.
It's possible. But no, my mom was part of one of those big dance troupes, that would just all. So my mom and dad actually ended up being on the same bill in a lot of gigs. So they met, they fell in love. They ended up, because my dad born and raised in Toronto, and he went to school, Mimico High School, and so he was a total Etobicoke guy. My mom was born in Illinois, and they met doing a gig somewhere in Quebec. So they got married, and they ended up moving to the States because there was more work there. And then they ended up moving to Florida, which is where I was born, and my older brother was born.
Do you have dual citizenship?
I do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See the things we learned. That's sweet.
Yeah, but don't tell the IRS.
Yeah.
Didn't say that.
Nobody
But
knows.
so we moved to Toronto basically because my dad just liked the alcohol more than he liked anything else, and he needed his OHIP because when you drink a lot, you're in the hospital a lot. So in 1971, he packed the whole family in a station wagon, and off we went up to Toronto, and that's where we've been ever since.
It's very cool. We Ain't Petty. When did this start? How are you guys doing? And you guys have some gigs coming up. How long has the band actually been together?
This is a crazy thing because midlife crisis, right? I'm almost 50 now. So I was sitting around watching Netflix, and there was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers documentary came on. I've always been a fan of the music, but I'm watching it, and all of a sudden I went, geez, there's just like all these songs that I know that are kind of in my vocal range that I think I could play, and wouldn't it be fun to get back into music? Because I hadn't been really in a band since 1989.
Yeah, well, you'd have no time, and the job you just came from gives you zero time.
Exactly. Now, I would bring my guitar with me on the road quite often.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just to stay out of trouble, to stay out of bars.
Yeah.
I'd bring it with me to spring training, and then, on a lot of road trips, I'd sit and have my guitar with me. So I guess it was last July, just on a whim, I just threw out on Facebook, hey, I'm thinking of putting a Tom Petty band together. Anybody want to get in? And within about 10 minutes, I got a message from a guy that was my guitarist in one of my bands back in the late 80s, a guy who was my drummer through high school. Yeah, I'd love to. So I said, you know what? I got a little setup in my basement. My son was playing drums at the time, so we had drums down. I said, come on, let's just jam some Tom Petty songs. So a couple of guys came over, we jammed, and then, we need a keyboard player. Well, this guy knows somebody who knows somebody, and, it just kind of word spread out, and just from a friend of a friend, we ended up getting ourselves a bass player and a keyboard player, and then the drummer that I originally had, his main music gig, he's in a U2 tribute band, really good one called Elevation, and they play everywhere, and he's busy playing all over the world, so he's like, I can't really do this. So a guy I know who's actually my co-host on the podcast, a guy named Matt McFarland, and he was my son's drum teacher. So he goes, I love playing Petty. So he joins the band.
Sweet.
And then he has a buddy that teaches bass at the same place he teaches guitar, a guy named Emil. Bring him in. He plays bass. So next thing you know, I've got this band of unbelievably talented musicians, and here I am thinking, oh man, how am I going to live up to these guys, right?
Now the pressure's on. Yeah.
So we just played last Saturday, just on the Danforth, place called the Linsmore. It was an amazing, amazing gig. In fact, like a whole boatload of my former colleagues at Sportsnet showed up, which was really cool to see.
If you want to play something this morning, and today later on, what is the easiest thing you'd play for us now? What would you play? What's something that, or maybe one of the first ones? Yeah, no, you choose. You choose.
Well, we should probably tune up, right?
Yeah.
What's your favorite Tom Petty song? That's an easy question.
I don't have a favorite one.
You can't sit there and say this is it.
Is
Okay,
it
what do you end off the concert with?
Oh, we always end off probably on Running Down a Dream.
Okay.
Because that's probably one of the
Great
just
song.
the really one that gets
Yeah.
everybody going.
What, you can't play any Kiss? That's who I'm in and off my con. I don't care who it is. I'm playing rock and roll all night and party.
called We
Party
Ain't-
every day. Excuse me. I thought you were a jazz trio. We are. Just I'm ending with that song.
I love how Kiss can continue going on with someone playing the role of Ace and someone playing the role of Peter Criss, because now it's become almost like a Broadway show.
Yeah.
In your programs, playing the role of Ace today will be Mike Richards, right?
Yeah, because the bitterness, because they can't even wear the makeup. Like Peter Criss can't wear because it's owned.
No, it's owned by Kiss.
It's owned by Kiss.
So there's a
you
different
can't even wear
Catman and a
Were you
different
one of those
Spaceman
guys as a kid, as a Kiss fan, that you'd get the magazine and you'd start to see, the makeup's peeling in this picture. You can almost see what they look like.
Well, they said in the comic book came out, they said made with Kiss's blood.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah,
Tell you what, that band was probably the first to really know how to market.
Hugely.
They put posters everywhere. They developed their own, whether it be the pinball machines or the dolls, and
Sure.
like they were just marketing geniuses.
What was the park? What was the movie they did? The
Kiss Meets the Phantom.
The Phantom.
Oh,
yeah. So when that came out, I was like, this is unbelievable. These are the most talented guys I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
And I think that I can't remember the plot of the movie. You knew it was terrible. It would have been like something Scooby-Doo would have done, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I just remember Hotter Than Hell, the robot Kiss people turn it into Rip and Destroy or something like that.
Oh, that's right, robots.
Yeah.
Great plot.
How we do a little won't back down.
There you go.
No, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. I'm gonna stand my ground. Won't get turned around. And I keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground. And I won't back down. Everybody.
I won't back down.
Hey, baby. There ain't no easy way out. Hey, in the same key.
Yeah. Why the Bee Gees in it all the
And I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. I got just one life in a world that keeps on pushing me around. Gonna stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground, and I won't back down. No, I won't back down.
All right.
That's Barry Davis singing Tom Petty's We Won't Back Down, going from number 14 to number 17. Oops, that's the other way around. As Tom Petty said, if that little prick plays any more of my songs, I'm going to kick his ass.
Is that not the best outtake ever?
Oh, he's had a bunch. You mean the one with Shannon, with the horse?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
The
was
dedication.
yeah.
If you've never,
I never heard
oh,
of it. No.
Well, he doesn't realize.
epic.
He
epic.
I think they played in radio schools or something.
Yeah.
too. That and the Orson Welles.
The rule of
Yeah,
the mic is always on.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yes.
somehow, again, we've dodged those bullets. But he starts to realize that it's about a dead. Is it a dog?
Yes, Shannon. But
Yeah,
the dog
Shannon.
drifting off to sea.
Shannon is gone.
Henry Gross.
And when you start thinking about it, I remember as a kid listening to it and thinking, sad song, but it's a makeout song. All you're thinking is,
It's-
womp, womp, you know, that you're gonna grow.
Slow dance while
Yeah,
the hands
yeah.
start to
Hands,
lower, and
oh,
then
yeah.
she lifts them back up, and
Absolutely.
then you put
And then he realizes, he goes, "Are you fucking kidding me? It's about a dog, a dead dog. How, you know?" And he goes mental.
profane
Yeah.
lace, just complete like
Yeah.
like I mean, we're talking about this is the voice of Shaggy
Yeah.
from the Scooby Doo show.
That's
That's
right, yeah.
actually going off.
And Dairy Queen. And who wants a scrumdiddlyicious? I was like, hey, wait a minute. I know that voice somewhere. Wow, it's great having you in here. I said, it's amazing that as the years have gone by and as great as the industry's been to all of us, and
Yeah.
it's treated us well, it's paid us very, very well, we've also have come to a point now in broadcast, and one of the reasons why I've done this while you're doing your podcast, is that those salaries, regardless of how successful you are and what you're doing, those days, if they're not at an end now, they're coming to an end. So you better find a way to be successful. And one of the things to do is sort of kind of what we're doing today is
Yeah.
you see your friends, you see maybe, you network with guys and you hope that, because for the most part, I feel anyway that, and this is my experience, that most of us have each other's back.
Absolutely.
That if we can, I saw Don Saxon on Follow. I said, Don Saxon.
You know, I go on his radio station out in Regina. Is it Regina or Saskatoon?
Yeah,
I
he's
go
out
on
there.
his-
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but quite often I'll be a guest when I was working at Sportsnet. I was on quite regularly talking Blue Jays with them.
Yeah, I mean, and
So
there's
we all keep in touch.
And there's so many people. And I said, the ones that are able to kind of figure out and do what we're going to do and,
Yeah.
and take a little bit of the sacrifice and quite honestly pain, because this is so different than what we're all used to, where you're doing it from the ground up,
Right.
where things that you're used to being paid for or someone doing it,
Right.
You're probably paying for it, and you got to do the stuff.
Yeah, the nice thing is you don't have anybody to answer to.
Yeah.
You don't have a boss.
Right.
But the negative is you don't have anybody that's, like you said, giving you that paycheck every 2 weeks. You have to go out and do all the work yourself. In some ways, it's like those small market radio stations where the program director is also the afternoon DJ. He's also the sales guy.
Right.
He also ends up sweeping up at the end of the night.
It's just the way it is. That's
You
why
sweep up here when
Yeah.
it's all done?
No, I make Russell do that.
Yeah, Russell does it.
Yeah. But he also has mirrors on his shoes, so got to say it's 50-50 for him. It works out okay. So let's talk about the podcast.
Yeah, sure.
It is called
Out of the Park.
Yeah.
We run it. It ends up being uploaded every Sunday at 6 o'clock, and it is usually Blue Jays related. We may that's the beauty. I mean, we can do whatever the hell we want.
Right.
But right now we're trying to appeal to the Blue Jays fans. And like I said, the drummer from We Ain't Petty, Matt, comes in, and he's my co-host and my producer, and we put together things. You know, I'm fortunate enough to have still had connections with not only the current Blue Jays but the alumni Blue Jays. So I try to get a current guy and an alumni guy on every week. This week we've got Roberto Osuna and Mookie Wilson, who's a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome.
And the funny thing is about Mookie is a lot of people don't realize that he is part of the biggest misplay probably in Major League Baseball history. The Bill Buckner.
That's right.
He was the one. He was the one who hit that ball, right?
And Sesame Street fame, Mookie Wilson.
yeah.
Don't forget that.
What was he?
I interviewed him about 6 months ago. I remember talking to him. I forget who the other Met was, but when he was with the Mets, he had a scene with the Count. So the Count's sitting there with a bat, and he says, "Peachy to me, Mr. Mookie Wilson." And he started laughing, and he says, "You know what? That might be the best promo, commercial, endorsement, anything I've ever done in my baseball
I have to look
career."
that up now.
But
Mookie Wilson, Sesame Street.
Yeah.
that's the one I thought you were saying. How many balls are going through Bill Buckner's legs? One.
Hey, here's a cool trivia question
Assholes, fuck you.
regarding that play. Do you know who was pitching for the Red Sox in that game?
Bob Stanley.
Bob Stanley, who was one of the pitching coaches. He helped out with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Correct.
And I remember asking about that. He goes, the best thing about Bill Buckner booting that ball is everybody forgot that before that I threw a wild pitch which allowed the tying run to score.
There was a weirdness to that.
No one ever talks about how it was
You're right.
his fault. He blew it.
Yeah.
But he's completely off the hook, and they're still talking about this over 30 years later.
And think about all the stuff he did in his career.
Oh, he had a
that
huge
made
career.
him one of the more loved baseball players.
Correct.
And that's how he's remembered.
You know, Mookie and Buckner actually are good friends now, and they do a lot of things together.
Correct.
Regarding this, Mookie says that one of the coolest things for him was when he got when on Seinfeld, Elaine went, "Oh, I love Mookie."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that's like cool.
Hey, before we let you go,
Yeah.
looking at how this season is playing out, you've got the Houston Astros that look like everyone else. It's like you're playing an Xbox
Best team
game.
in Major League
Hey,
Baseball.
when you've got a little guy leading the way, and as little people, well, I wouldn't say little people, sorry.
Yeah, don't get mad about that. Oh, I said midget the other day, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's not good.
Oh,
at all.
no.
As
Why don't you say midget? That'd be fun if you said midget. You want to say that?
Do you remember when we used to play hockey as kids? That was one of the leagues we played in.
You
It
can,
was-
you can say midget.
We played.
It doesn't
Pee-wee.
mean you believe they're dwarfs.
We played pee-wee hockey. We played midget hockey.
Yes.
Right.
Bantam, minor, midget.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to get called that all the time too. By the way, I mean when you're my height, you get called a lot of short things, but I never have to duck.
Well, it's a good thing you've let it go. Who wins the World Series this year?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Not
They're-
the Houston Astros. I don't think the Houston Astros win the World Series this year. I got a feeling. It's probably going to be. I really hate to say this, but I have a feeling we're going to see the Yankees in the World Series this year.
Are you going to see them for a lot of years? How good is this team going to be?
It's a young core.
Yeah, that's the
core.
thing, right? Because the Yankees have always been this veteran team, and people are wondering, well, what's going to happen when Jeter and A-Rod and Teixeira and all these guys are gone? Who's going to take their spots? Well, we're seeing it now. They've got an unbelievable young core of players.
Farm system's good
and
too.
and they have money, so they can buy whatever they want. Those two things combined make the Yankees a team that could be very deadly for quite a few years.
Instead of playing our song, why don't we have Barry play us out? You can play whatever you want. We'll
To end the show.
To end the show. By the way, out of the
something
park.
good to end the show. I like it.
out of the. You lost your pick.
I lost my
See, the real stars, they don't do that.
It's right there on the floor.
You got it, sir?
This is this is what I was hoping for during the production.
Okay, make sure that shot's on Barry.
There we go. That's right. So Barry Davis, thanks for coming in. He's joined us here on rawmikeRichards.com. Remember to download the podcast on iTunes or watch us on Raw
Good
Mike
song.
Richards. Thanks,
There we
Barry.
go.
Mikey waited till he finished high school. He went to Hollywood, got a tattoo. He met a girl out there with a tattoo too. The future was wide open. They moved into a place they both could afford. They found a nightclub he could work at the door. She had a guitar and she taught him some chords. The sky was the limit. Into the great wide open, under them skies of blue, out in the great wide open, a rebel without a clue.
Awesome. One of the best guys ever.
Gentlemen,
Yeah.
pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Barry Davis, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to download the podcast and remember to subscribe to rawmikeRichards.com. We'll see you later.